All right, welcome everybody. I'm just getting all our screens and screen sharing and everything set up here for us. And then, as usual, if this is your first time here, I'm pulling up the Q&A here for our webinar today. You all have access to ask questions at any point during today's webinar. This is a session just for you guys. Um, it's not a session for me necessarily. So if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to ask them, and I will be more than happy to help you. So I usually do give 1 or 2 minutes here for some people to funnel in. As we have people funnel in, I just wanted to say thank you guys for showing up. We actually have a record here today in terms of the number of people coming to this webinar. I think last time I checked, it was like 205 people. So pretty cool to see the growth of this and how much the construction industry is really leaning into this. Um, Okay, cool. All right. And then, as always, as a thank you for those of you that are here, I'm putting in the chat the link to our AI community. And as a thank you for coming, there is a 7-day free trial there. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started here. Let me just get a drink of coffee. All right. Well, today, there's a pretty good topic. I know that typically and traditionally, I have basically presented on, ChatGPT and using that because they're still the leader, although we're seeing Google's Gemini really close in the ranks, specifically with enterprise customers, and I think that we'll see this in construction as well. The more that people kind of lean into their existing tech stacks, think, if we're already using Microsoft Office, why use Google Workspace, right? So we're gonna see kind of like a native use case, I think, more and more in the industry. So I wanted to go into each one of these current kind of models and just go through some pros and cons of both. And full disclosure, I am a super user power nerd of AI, and I am actually using different models for different tasks. And it's becoming more and more prevalent for me to do that, basically not only based on these findings, but just based on my own day-to-day operations at contractsconnected.com. And we're a back office AI automation platform for contracts compliance and so on. So I'm using it every single day and interacting with a ton of construction documents. So it'll be interesting to kind of relay this over to you guys. And as usual, I also want to just give the context here that I try to build these webinars. I have a lot of people from all over the spectrum when it comes to the AEC industry. And not only people, some in architecture, some in engineering, and some in construction, but I also have everybody from like CEOs and owners and presidents. I have project managers, I have contract administrators from our software come to this as well. So everything that I'm going to be mentioning here, I'm going to be giving some examples today. But again, I want to encourage you guys to just think through your day-to-day life. And, as I say, oh, pros and cons of this model or that model over the other, you guys can kind of make your own decision here based on the operations and the day-to-day kind of work that you guys do yourself. So, with that, let's jump right in here. Um, so essentially, I always like to start out with one of these slides. AI is continuing to evolve, and there's a ton of new features and releases and different platform changes to all of these different AI models that's going to be happening pretty rapidly this year. I think 2026, we're going to see a lot of changes in technology. Whereas years past, it was like, oh, just a new AI model, cool, like ChatGPT 6 is coming out. Cool. This year, I'm expecting them to do a few more bigger kind of pivots as far as integrating further with our day-to-day life and kind of becoming that personal assistant. But essentially, I think that a lot of people may be using one model, but they're not necessarily like sure what the other models use. You know, we're all so busy that we kind of use one model and we double down on that. But this presentation that I made is really designed to explore ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Grok. Grok probably being the least popular in the construction community from what I've seen in our AI blueprint group. But each do bring their own capabilities and limitations to the table. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of show you guys the strengths and weaknesses today and kind of where it would fall short in different ranges. And again, I'm going to try to apply this to every industry that is here today, all 205 people that have registered for this webinar today. So again, thanks for being here, and let's continue on. All right. So, if you guys are not familiar, I think everybody knows ChatGPT. It's developed by OpenAI. It's basically an AI model known for kind of like creating content. It's generative AI, so it's generating things, generating code, generating text, generating images, as all of these will be. It has a vast user base and supports numerous plugins for enhanced functionality. We have seen them try to push harder on the enterprise and like company knowledge stuff just to keep up with Gemini's kind of claw at the enterprise space. And I think that's where construction is really going to go. One kind of plague that I see in construction is like, oh, you know, we're not ready to implement this as a company, but there's this like background happening where like a lot of the company is already using these things. They're just using it in unregulated ways. They're using it in ways without standard operating procedures built around it. So when a company has not fully adopted or like built policies out around AI, they're kind of in denial a little bit because they're like, oh, we're not ready for it. We're not ready for it. We don't know, you know, we haven't developed this. We don't have our standard operating procedures, but it's happening. And oftentimes, it's happening and like the PMs are using ChatGPT. This contract admin uses Claude. You know, people are like starting to pick their favorites. And I want people to just have like this open mind of like maybe the one that I'm using that's my favorite that I'm just used to going to by default isn't going to be the best option for me. So the next one is Google Gemini. This one I've been using more and more and more lately, but it's still not my primary go-to. But advanced, you know, multimodal capabilities. So um, this is basically designed with Google Workspace in mind. If you guys aren't like Google Workspace users, I don't know if I see like a huge use case for you guys. We're going to get into this in a little bit. They do have a really, really awesome image generator and also like infographic generator. I think they are leading the charge in a couple of areas, which we'll get into. But by integrating this with Google Workspace, it allows for seamless collaboration. It's really powerful when it comes to working with your Gmail and really powerful when it comes to working with documents in Google Drive. I had a document I could not find the other day in my Google Drive, and I was just like, I know it's in here somewhere. And I remembered, hey, Gemini exists. I gave Gemini literally one message. It searched through the whole Google Drive and found that document for me in this random place that it should not have been filed in, which was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. All right, and then we have Claude here. So Claude is more safety focused with a really large context window. So you know, ChatGPT kind of has this like first move advantage, right? Like they were the first big player. Google Gemini, they have the Google Workspace users kind of in their back pocket. And then Anthropic Claude is kind of what I've seen, like a little bit of a sleeper here in terms of, hey, they have some really important features for construction that maybe these other ones are still catching up with, but they don't have this like, you know, brand name in terms of ChatGPT just being like that first one that we all heard about. and they don't have, all these Google users and the Google name behind it. So they are really kind of overcompensating with some stuff that I think like context windows can be really important to construction. And if you guys don't know what context windows are, if you haven't been to a ton of the webinars in the past, context windows is basically it's short-term memory about, what you've talked about, what documents you fed it, and so on, which I think in construction is, a really important part. Again, and I think I've said this a bunch of times as well now, construction's biggest weakness in AI is context. Knowing about my project, knowing the history about my project, knowing how my company works, knowing who does what at my company, knowing, hey, we had like three different versions of this wage determination, or this specific commitment has like 20 change orders attached to it, whatever it is. History and context and knowing about the project and knowing where things are is really kind of like the weak point in terms of people that are using it to its full advantage and not. And context windows are arguably the most important part of that. So they really focus on providing accurate, contextually aware responses. It has a very large context window, enabling it to process really extensive files, extensive pieces of text, and it really makes it suitable for tasks involving like complex analysis and compliance here. So, if you guys didn't know about those three, those are it. And then we have Grok, which was recently kind of like just pushed onto every Tesla that's driving onto the road. So Grok is like something that I see some construction people use, but it's definitely kind of like a lone wolf. It's created by XAI, kind of led by Elon, right? And it offers real-time insights by connecting with social media and other current events. It's designed to provide up-to-date information, making it valuable for professionals who need to stay informed about, those industry trends and news. So you can see how each one's been is a little bit different, right? So we have ChatGPT, kind of that generalist. We have uh, Gemini, which is kind of focused on image and stuff generation as well as connectivity within the Google platform. We have Claude, which is really cool about the different context windows and their reasoning and the responses being very accurate to what's been mentioned in a context window in the past. And then we have like Grok here, which isn't going to be, I almost didn't even include it in this presentation, but it is probably the most known one after Claude Gemini and ChatGPT. So I thought I would throw it in here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Grok. If anybody has any questions, again, that Q&A is open and I can definitely provide some more insights. So let's talk about ChatGPT first in a little bit more detail before we get into some like, numbers and pros and cons here. So as the pioneering chatbot in AI, ChatGPT has revolutionized the way that users interact with technology. Its extensive training on diverse data sets allows it to excel in various applications from drafting documents and brainstorming ideas to coding in those technical type of inquiries, making it a vital tool for professionals in numerous fields, including construction. Again, it's just become the default, right? The pros that we have for ChatGPT are, it's highly versatile and creative in terms of like training knowledge. It's been trained on probably one of the largest, if not the largest, data sets in terms of how much information is out there on the internet and how much information a certain AI model has. And that leads to its large knowledge base and it's extendable and integrated. And what I mean by kind of like its context, if you guys aren't super aware, when AI responds to you, it's using kind of like an advanced reasoning model very fast, right? So if AI is trained on all the information on the internet and you ask it what color is the sky, there's going to be a ton of data supporting that the sky is blue, right? And or if you're asking, hey, is the Earth round, right? There's a ton of data supporting that the Earth is round, but there are these like outliers that say the Earth is flat, right? Or that the sky is purple or whatever. I'm sure it's written somewhere online that these AI models have seen. However, what it's going to do is it's going to basically take the fact that there are more answers out there or pieces of text or context saying that it's round or blue, and therefore it knows to give that answer that the sky is blue or that the earth is round. So this is going to work the same way. The more information and the more knowledge that a tool has, the more useful it's going to be for you guys. There are some LLMs that are being built out there that are going to be more specific to construction knowledge specifically, taking as much tribal knowledge as we can from those industry veterans and turning them into those knowledge pieces that are going to be part of these knowledge bases. But for now, just those larger, broader kind of knowledge sets are going to be useful for you guys. The cons of ChatGPT is, ChatGPT is the information that it is trained on. There is a window in which that information is live. So I think it's usually like a year behind or so. ChatGPT does hallucinate. And if you guys don't know what hallucinations are, that's when it makes things up. And hallucinations can oftentimes be tied to my next point here, which is the context window. They did dramatically improve the context window in the current ChatGPT model, which is ChatGPT 5.2. That's what we're all using today if you're logging in. And when it basically has a limited context window and you put in a 300 page, 400 page, 500 page document, or that amount of text, it gets tired, it fatigues out, it gets confused, and ChatGPT had been rewarded in the past for giving answers, regardless of if they were right or wrong, right? So it created these things called hallucinations, where it makes something up just to give you an answer and just to kind of be a people pleaser in that world. So context windows being larger and more kind of refined, which hint, hint, Claude, you're going to see possible hallucinations decrease. Additionally, I would just like to say that, ChatGPT is aware of this. They are working very hard on this. I imagine that the next chat that we see released is going to basically eradicate this. But they are working extremely hard to basically eliminate hallucinations, and all AI models do hallucinate to a certain extent. It's just how much do they hallucinate? And that's why they have those little disclaimers there to always check the accuracy of ChatGPT's answers or any AI model's answers. And it's not a reason not to use ChatGPT, it's just something to be aware of. And I did mention that ChatGPT 5.2 has a larger context window. We're looking at about 300-page documents now that they can actually accurately read, digest, remember, and then interact with you on. So, it's kind of there in terms of how much documentation. It's when you're going to give it like five different documents and start to surpass some of those numbers or build in complexity around how many pages are in each document, stuff like that. That's where we're going to start to see it kind of slip up. All right, so let's get into some like average use cases. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on here. This is just simply to get kind of gears rolling here about, what I've seen people in our AI community that kind of chat with me use this for. So meeting agendas, assisting project managers in drafting those detailed and organized meeting agendas by inputting key topics and objectives. It can quickly generate those professional agendas that ensure relevant points are covered. We've all seen stuff like this, right? Writing progress reports. So ChatGPT is capable of generating comprehensive progress reports by summarizing those project activities, milestones, and so on. Again, this is like text generative text kind of stuff. Generating snippets of code. There are some people that come to this that are more on the IT side of a construction team. They're building their own tools. They're really on the leading edge here. So I do like to put in a little bit of stuff about these. But essentially, you can generate different code or algorithms that are going to automate various tasks. And that involves, converting those data formats, performing calculations, and just kind of saving time and reducing human error. And then we just have like traditional brainstorming. So bouncing ideas off of it. I was just doing this morning with my co-founder, Lars, on Contracts Connected. He's actually he started another GC because he didn't get enough of it from his first GC that he ultimately sold. But he's kind of running into a lot of the same problems, and it's helping us with our user experience and stuff like that. But we were just brainstorming, right, with ChatGPT this morning, using voice to text and just talking to it about these complex problems and workflows within construction companies. It's not easy what you guys do, and it's always seems to be that you're working with a variety of vendors, you're working with a variety of owners. Every vendor does something different, every owner does something different. And to the owners and to the vendors, every GC does something different if you're a GC. So we constantly see these moving workflows and moving targets. And by trying to build solutions, even if you're building an internal solution, being able to brainstorm, hey, I have, vendors that work in a variety of ways and do this a variety of different ways. I need a workflow or a solution to this complex problem that's going to basically be able to standardize this procedure or this operation. All right, let's talk about Gemini. I'd be interested to know, out of everybody here today, who is kind of like, we all have a favorite. We all have a favorite child as far as LLMs go. I would like to know kind of who is has a favorite around Gemini versus who has a favorite around Claude and so on. So Gemini is going to represent a significant evolution in the AI technology. This is designed to excel various applications, particularly in context of, Google's extensive ecosystem equipped with all these different capabilities where, and what I mean by multimodal is like it can go into your Google Drive, it can work on Google Sheets, it can work on Google Docs, it can work in your Gmail, it can work everywhere. And it basically is going to process and analyze not just text, but also images, audio, and it's going to make it a more versatile tool for construction professionals where ChatGPT, for instance, can't really do audio so well. You can record meetings and stuff like that, but if you were to upload simply like a video with audio in it, it's not going to be able to translate that or anything like that. So um, we're going to see these kind of start to pull apart a little bit. So pros of Google Gemini, seamless collaboration tools between internal team members. As I mentioned to you guys before, Gemini is really kind of like closing the gap with ChatGPT. And one of the main areas they're closing the gap with ChatGPT on is this enterprise world, meaning that they're able to kind of get into organizations like construction firms and they're able to basically sell in a enterprise solution, basically saying all of your, employees should use Gemini. Here's why, here's all the pros, here's all the cons of using it a different way. And I honestly do see this being a really smart tactic because, like I said, construction companies, people are using AI. Like whether the company has policy or not, like people are using it. And it's Gemini that's coming in and saying, okay, well, like you should standardize it. Oh, you don't have a standard procedure, you don't have controls, you don't have items in place. Oh, look at all these tools that we built just for companies where, things like ChatGPT. They honestly, in my opinion, lacked in prioritization for these like enterprise or business features here. And ChatGPT built more for the consumer, more for that like single user, more for that single person wanting to just get some stuff done. And that's traditionally how it's been. But we're seeing this shift between, companies starting to roll out an enterprise level plan for all of their users because there are a lot of benefits around, how it can be used in a company, you collaboration, having multiple people be able to chat one thing, or having a specific document, or look for specific risk in a specific document. But this is going to have those collaboration tools. It's going to handle extensive documents easily. And I see obviously construction heavily using spreadsheets, heavily using Word docs and PDFs. And Gemini's been kind of built to operate with those, especially within that Google Workspace ecosystem. They have those visual and audio data processing. The visual processing is kind of more related to the guys that are working with plans and specs. And like we've mentioned in the past, AI not being able to parse it out into data that can actually see correctly because it can't see the image. It has to take the image and convert it into, text or code that the AI model can understand. And then it's going to give those real-time insights to teams. Now, in terms of the cons here, This is a more enterprisey feel, right? So with that more formalized feel, you're going to get formalized and, more cautious communication, maybe not as creative ideas. Maybe you're not going to be able to get it to kind of like lean into a specific, personality type. This is very corporate. This is very buttoned up, is kind of how we see it. And that's, again, them leaning towards that enterprise user, right? Performance and quality gaps do exist. There are concerns over data privacy. So you activate Gemini, it's going to be able to read every single email. It's going to be able to read every single thing in your Google Doc. Like that stuff, especially for those building with the federal government in under that CMMC kind of security compliance, sorry, is going to be something important to think about. And then there's very, very limited third-party integrations. They are building with their Google apps, and that's about it. Whereas ChatGPT is trying to be as friendly as possible with everybody. Same with Claude. So one major con that I do see with Gemini is it's more of a closed ecosystem. Yes, they will roll out integrations. Yes, it will be part of their roadmap, but not as much. They definitely they're Google, right? So they're just own that whole experience from end to end to end to end. And we're going to continue to see them probably do that with Gemini. So it's kind of like when you have an iPhone and you want to buy new headphones, you buy the Apple headphones, they're instantly seamlessly pairing, versus if you went and bought something else, it might not pair as fast. It might not pair, you might have to go reset it sometimes. So this in ecosystem kind of tech stack is always pretty beneficial in my opinion. I like it. So then let me just blast through these use cases again. I want to just uh, get your guys' brains just kind of spinning. So similar to ChatGPT, it is generative, right? So generating text around schedules. One kind of standout here is the worksheet or sheets capability. So if you're in Excel, you can always upload an Excel document into Google Sheets and then interact with it via Gemini. This is going to be kind of a big differentiator between the other models when it comes to construction, just because you guys are working in, Excel sheets quite often. So Gemini can help construction teams analyze these vast data sets, allowing for effective decision making based on real-time data insights, as well as it can update these sheets, it can enter information, it can build the formulas. I was using it just the other day to build some formulas, and it was pretty quick, pretty easy. And with ChatGPT, it's a little clunky. I'm trying to tell it what type of formula, where the data is in the columns. With Gemini, it's already knowing what's in what column. It knows the name of the header in the column is, task ID, or vendor name or vendor address. And it's able to build the formulas based on what it can contextually see inside that Google Sheet already. So I think this is a huge, like basically thing to consider if you guys are kind of leaning into each. And as I mentioned, I'm using multiple different AIs every single day. So I am starting to use Gemini for my documents, for my kind of workflows around Google Sheets, around Word docs, around Google Drive, and even my email. Uh, then we have, design drawings. And this is where, again, GPT 5.2 made a huge kind of stride in this area. I did a whole webinar on 5.2 just a couple of weeks ago. But Gemini specifically has capabilities that extend to interpreting design drawings, where it can assess and extract critical information from architectural plans, blueprints, aiding in those project execution. And one, if you guys have not seen me try to kind of interact with these drawings and specs and stuff, this stuff is needing to be translated from images, oftentimes around drawings, into text. And spatial awareness is important. And the way that it kind of looks at that image takes the kind of like measurements and the dimensions and the sizes and the shapes, and then rebuilds it into a way that AI LLMs can understand it. We call that parsing. So you take the image of the drawing, there's a process called parsing. Parsing basically is taking the image and turning it into just lines of text, right? And those lines of text can have boxes, if you think of ever trying to draw a box by like space, 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 line, line, space, 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 line. It's basically trying to do the same thing so it can then interact with it in the code base. But that's always been a challenge, and it's been a huge kind of letdown as far as I'm concerned with the people that are always asking me about how to interact with drawings and specs and plans inside of AI. We're seeing these models push towards that. Gemini is probably one of the leaders, but I mean, ChatGPT just released that 5.2, which makes a big difference as well. And then, you can do things like retrieve the latest material prices by leveraging those Google's up-to-date database, ensuring that the construction professionals on your team have the most accurate pricing information for budgeting and sourcing. Again, it can be referencing things like Google Sheets and so on. All right. And then let's talk about Claude. So this is a safety-focused analyst is kind of how we call Claude as far as what I've built out for you guys today. But Claude is developed by Anthropic. So Google owns Gemini, owns ChatGPT, Anthropic owns Claude. It's engineered with a commitment to safety and ethical guidelines, ensuring that it provides reliable assistance while minimizing harmful outputs. It excels at processing lengthy texts and complex data, making it an ideal choice for construction professionals who require detailed analysis and adherence to regulations, which sounds pretty good right off the bat, right? So if you guys have not used Claude, let's talk a little bit more about it. Extreme context capacity. Like I'm talking like 500 plus. I don't know the exact number. I couldn't find like an exact number of like PDF pages, whereas like ChatGPT is currently floating around that like 300 page number. I know that Anthropic's Claude can do arguably, a vast amount more. This does have superior reasoning capabilities. This is very user friendly. It does give very precise, like, think operations focused outputs rather than friendly, rather than like yes man, rather than like, um, what you'll see in some of like ChatGPT where it's like trying to be friendly or quirky or whatever. This is very like operational, like execution wise. Ethical and compliant interactions, also very important to Claude. They are building something more of like a powerhouse for an AI platform. The cons of Claude are going to be looking more like, limited public awareness. Again, it's not trained, I don't think, as much as OpenAI and Google have trained their models. It can refuse certain queries. So, with that more, ethical kind of flow, you're going to see it refuse to do more things. So one area is like if you ask it to act as an attorney, whereas ChatGPT and Gemini are gonna say, I'm not an attorney, blah 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 blah. Claude, I have seen, and this doesn't always happen, but it will ask depending on what that legal question is. It won't even go there, right? Because they're trying to reduce their risk. They're very much like, hey, this shouldn't be used. We aren't a real attorney, so don't use us for this, and so on. It can only do text right now, whereas GPT, I can upload PDFs, I can upload images, I can upload who knows what. Same with Google, they're pretty good about parsing. So if you think about that parsing behavior, taking any type of image or something like that and turning it into text. And then you have kind of those subscription costs just for like the full use where like Gemini and GPT will give you some stuff for free. So, in terms of where this is going to excel in your organization is analyzing those lengthy contracts. So, Claude can digest and analyze extensive contracts, helping construction professionals identify those key clauses, terms, and conditions efficiently, which is essential for managing project risks and compliance. This one I thought would be important to note for this specific LLM, where the other two can do it, obviously, but Claude I think would do it the best just based on the research that I've done for you guys so far. Technical documents, again, we're really focused around text and documents here. So, with its ability to understand and distill complex technical documents, Claude assists in summarizing essential information, making it easier for engineers and project managers to really grasp those critical details without waddling through pages of context. And then we have, verifying calculations or code here. So Claude excels in verifying calculations and code, providing construction teams with assurance that their engineering computations and programming scripts, are all accurate and aligned with project requirements. And then we have reviewing reports for clarity. So when it comes to reviewing reports, Claude helps ensure that the clarity and coherence, allowing construction professionals to present their findings effectively and meet communication standards within the industry. So you'll see a theme there, right? It's documents, it's calculations, it's referencing. It's really able to kind of gather all of that into its system and then give you that precise, accurate answer. So I'm gonna kind of blast through Grok here. I'm not sure if there's too many people in this community that are really leveraging Grok as from like a professional standpoint. Grok is more like an entertainer in my eyes, but let's get into exactly why I think that. But Grok distinguishes itself by offering a unique blend of real-time data access and a candid conversational style with its integration into the X platform. Grok leverages social media insights to provide timely updates, a fresh perspective on industry trends, making it an intriguing source for construction professionals who just want to stay informed about current events and public sentiment. And just to contrast here, Grok is like fast, quick, um, not so concerned about, what's right or what's wrong, more about being quick and accurate and up to date. Whereas like I mentioned as one of the cons of ChatGPT is, they have a window in which, hey, we've only trained it on data up to 2023, right? So anything that's happened between 2023 and 2026 isn't going to be in this as far as like being able to give you accurate answers about things. So Grok does not do that. The pro of Grok here, we have real-time knowledge. We have less censorship. It's basically going to do anything you ask it to. It does have some collaborative AI abilities, and then it also is just going to be able to be engaged with current topics and news and so on. Cons, there are a lot of cons, I think, as far as like a professional construction standpoint go, but let's get into kind of a few of the most important. It is less mature. It has a lot less knowledge than all three of the other competitors here. There is risk of misinformation exposure. So, I mean, if you're whatever political climate you're in, it's just going to be reading whatever is on X, it's going to be taking that data in real time and it's basically just going to be giving you an average of whatever it's seeing. And the more people that are saying a certain point of view, the more it's going to lean into that point of view rather than give you kind of something that isn't trained up to date. And, there's been time for the world to kind of digest those things. Limited accessibility options, so you can't really access it on many other places other than, XAI's kind of ecosystem. And then it is unconventional workplace style. So the people that work there, the items that they're working on, the things that they're developing, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with Grok. It's just take it for what it is. And in my opinion, it's more of an entertainment tool than it is a coworker. So this is basically, I just wanted to create the same use case slide as I did for the other one. So, we're going to be able to monitor breaking news, market research on new technologies, think things that are just, relevant right now, today, what's going on. Crisis monitoring, drafting timely social media posts, that kind of deal. So let's talk about choosing the right AI model for your construction needs, depending on, what company you're coming from today, and also talking about, what types of tasks that you do in your day-to-day operations. All right. So if you're needing to, brainstorm something, like I mentioned, what I did today, this morning with my co-founder, we use ChatGPT. It is great. I think it walks that perfect line of professional, creative, and also a little bit flexible in what you can ask it to do and how you can ask it to act. And it also has so much information from the web and stuff like that that it's trained on that it can bring in a lot of different point of views, a lot of different data. So I use this for, drafting ideas, drafting documents, creating new ideas around, workflows and so on. If you want that real-time awareness for anything, Grok is probably going to have it the lake up here. Although, you could probably just paste in whatever real-time stuff is going on, or give ChatGPT's agent mode a URL or a task to go research a live event that's happening, or a live, tariffs are happening. How are these tariffs going to affect us in construction? You can actually use ChatGPT's agent mode to go research on Google and read about things in live time, and then come back to you with a more relevant answer if you're like worried about something that's happening in the current climate. Collaboration. Gemini is going to seamlessly integrate with that Google Workspace, making it a perfect team collaboration on documents and project management. And then deep analysis. For documents you're uploading, Claude is actually the best suited for analyzing those lengthy pieces of text and complex data, ensuring accuracy, thoroughness, and critical construction documents. And if I were you guys, I would say that Claude is going to be that place where if I want to interact with my construction documents, that's kind of where I'm going. I see OpenAI's ChatGPT closing the gap here. But Claude is professional. Claude is, trusted. Claude has a really wide kind of that knowledge base, and then Claude is also able to interact with your documents in really complex ways. The only downside is they have to be text documents. We're not really able to do that, visual parsing and awareness like you would be able to do on Google. So there's not really that bet one size fits all for this at all. I hope that you guys can see, hey, if I'm doing this, maybe this one. If I'm doing this, maybe this one. Or I just want to pick one. So this one seems to be able to touch a lot of what I want to do, and be able to focus in there. But ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Claude, they're all going to offer unique strengths and weaknesses, tailored to various different construction related tasks. Choosing that right one for you guys is going to hinge on factors such as integration needs, real-time data requirements, creativity, and the content generation that it's going to give you, and the ability to analyze complex documents. Understanding these variables are going to basically empower you guys to leverage the AI that you think is going to move the needle more for you guys more effectively, and it's going to enhance your productivity when it comes to project outcomes and efficiency. Now, if you guys don't know, I also do run a group called the AI Blueprint here. I post almost every single day in here something about AI, how to use it in your construction company, the different models, how I'm using the different models. And this is a huge kind of benefit here that I want you guys to all be able to access. Everybody in this group gets a 7-day free trial here. It's like literally $10 a month afterwards. We have 75 people from all over the world in here from the construction community. So I love seeing this grow, but there is multiple different courses in here. There's the beginner guide to AI for construction. So if you guys are new to AI, if you guys want to start getting your wheels turning more on AI, this is where you would go for that. I have basically a foundations, welcome to AI, what it is, generative AI, what generative AI is versus agentic AI. And then if you come back to my classroom, you can graduate basically to the next course, which is, a more advanced prompting, getting more out of any AI model that you're using. So whether you guys are using Claude, Grok, Gemini, these are all some really great kind of basics that if you guys have in your tool belt, you're going to be able to use any of these models more effectively than 99% of the people out there. So I have all of this stuff in here. Every single webinar that I've ever done is also in here. So if you guys missed, like I've talked a lot about ChatGPT 5.2, for instance, that whole webinar is in here. And then I also, on top of posting every single day, we upload AI resources. So these are all kind of different PDFs. And then in the community, I'm posting things every day. Like I think I just posted this prompt library here. So if you guys open this, this is a kind of a download that you can take. It's a PDF that helps you just basically build out your prompt library depending on if you're doing RFIs, if you're doing schedules and look aheads, project communication. So it's giving you those prompts that you can just copy and paste, regardless of the AI model that you guys are using. So I put all this stuff in here. I create all this stuff every single day and I post it in here basically for free for you guys. And yeah, as a thank you for coming, I've put that free link there for that 7-day free trial in here. We have 75 people in here already. It's pretty cool. I'm continuing to build this out more and more and more. I also do office hours. So if you guys have any questions, I do one-on-one video time where anybody in our community can come to this 9:30 a.m. Pacific time office hour link here, accessible into the group, and get one-on-one time with me. Ask me any questions. I'm very accessible to the group members in here, and I try to do my best to help everybody basically win when it comes to construction or build out processes or whatnot. So that's my little shameless plug about what we got going on here in the AI Blueprint. I did record a whole new course, so we're editing it right now, but there's going to be a whole new course around custom GPTs. And if you guys missed it, the custom GPT is basically what I did in this webinar, where we built out an entire GPT that was specifically trained and designed to look for different items that I would want to negotiate out of contracts, like basically no-go scenarios for me in the contracts that I'm analyzing. We basically built out this pre-prompted framework. So, and we trained a ChatGPT kind of like user experience here to say every time a subcontract is uploaded, parse it out, process it, and then analyze it for this type of risk. These are the things that we always look for. We want to look for payment terms. We want to look for liquidated damages, maybe. We want to look for XYZ, and then spit out a report and suggest possible red lines for us to send along to the person that issued us that agreement. So that's one that I built here, and we have a whole class that's going to be just like this one coming out within the next week or so about custom GPTs and how to build your own. Regardless, I think in the course I go over the contract review custom GPT, but I actually built out a certificate of insurance GPT analyzer, so you could just upload COIs and based on project specific information, it would basically analyze it and spit out a report to you in whatever format you want, whether you want it for an Excel sheet or what, but with expiration dates, limits, and then approval, like, hey, yeah, this looks good, or no, this doesn't look good. So basically, you could build whatever you'd want there. But I hope that, that kind of opened your guys' eyes up into, what is good about ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Grok, and what is, maybe missing or lacking. There is not that one size fits all, and I think that's good for us because it forces those companies to innovate for us faster. What I'm expecting us to see more of is I think ChatGPT will continue to lean into the consumer. They haven't ignored enterprise, but I will place a bet that more companies, as far as buying company accounts, will lean more towards like Gemini or maybe even Claude. And then consumers like that person that just wants a personal assistant will lean into ChatGPT. OpenAI has come out and publicly stated, that you can expect a physical device from them this year. So they made that big acquisition last year about this company that was building basically a physical device that was AI native. And they are kind of on a mission right now to create a device that you will carry with yourself, that is basically just like having your iPhone on you or, an Apple Watch or whatever. But instead, it's likely going to be listening and interacting and seeing what we're seeing. And then it's going to just straight up integrate into a personal assistant. And we're seeing more agentic capabilities come out already too. So that's something that I'm expecting them to release. So agentic capabilities, meaning like, hey, if it sees that you're out of milk or you're low on milk or something in your fridge while you're wearing it, it's able to then proactively go buy that, get it delivered, and then you don't have to worry about it, right? So that's the type of agentic use cases we're going to see it start to come out with. And then as far as Gemini goes, I think that yes, they're really great in terms of if you're in Google Workspace, but if you're not in Google Workspace and you don't use Google Workspace, I think Claude or ChatGPT is where I would go personally. I'm a Google Workspace user. Our company at Contracts Connected is as well, so it's semi-useful for us. But I could see me not being in here. Kind of steering me away from it. The one thing that would probably bring me back as a construction professional is that, spreadsheet interaction tool. It's really powerful. It can go a long way. It does a lot. And as far as Claude goes, Claude is kind of slow and steady wins the race, but they're building cautiously. So, depending on your company's culture, depending on what you guys are doing within your organizations, what kind of documents you're interacting with, what kind of controls you want to place on the people within your company that are using AI. All of that stuff is to be taken into consideration, and Claude is a great option. Grok, like I've said multiple times in this webinar today, I don't really see it be a popular thing in terms of the people in our AI community here. I don't really see people use it. And I personally, I don't even know if I've ever used it outside of testing a couple of things for this webinar just to see like what it would say or what it would do. It will basically say and do anything you ask it for context, where the other ones won't. So I hope that this kind of sheds some light on the different things that are out there for you guys today. Just, go into it with an open mind. Everything I presented on today is subject to change, right? So 6 months from now, when the ChatGPT 6 is out and ChatGPT is coming out with that physical device, and who knows which direction Gemini is going to go, but Gemini, I think so far seems limited that it's only going to be within the Google ecosystem. We'll see. They do have Google, as their search engine. Maybe they're going to find a way to get more people to use it based off that. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on those four different AI chats. It'll be interesting to see. I'm super excited to watch them all duke it out and fight for our users, for our attention, for our uses, and our subscription revenue. So it's a fight right now between these companies, and they're all under a lot of pressure. ChatGPT has a internal at their company at OpenAI. They have a saying called like code red. So when Gemini or Claude or somebody comes out with a really sick feature and they feel like they're behind, they go into this like what they call code red mode to just try to keep up and catch up. So it's cutthroat out there. It's exciting for us. We get to benefit. They get to stress out. My platform, Contracts Connected, benefits every time they release stuff because we operate on top of different models depending on, what documents we're analyzing, or if we're creating a subcontract, or if we're helping a contractor understand the red lines that were sent back through our platform, or e-sign something. So every time they improve their models, my platform improves for our users, which, makes me super happy. And it's like I have all of those stressed out developers at all those companies working for us, helping us make our platform better. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna stick around here. We have about 4 or 5 minutes until the end of this webinar time. I have not seen any questions come into the Q&A. If you guys have not joined, please check the chat, and you can join into the AI Blueprint. I would love to see you guys in there. I'd love to answer some questions. I would love your feedback on the new custom GPT course that I did create and film when it comes out here in just the next, week or so. We're editing it right now. But yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces today. Again, we had like 205 people register for today. Thank you all for coming. You guys are the kind of people that are moving the needle here in construction, the ones that are leaning more forward in the AI space. And we're excited that you guys are excited about using technology. And I think construction in general gets a bad rep for people that don't want to adopt new technology. But it's very clear to me based on how many people come to these webinars and register for it that that's not the case. And you guys are going to be those people that kind of make the um, make the needle move for the industry as a whole. So All right, we have a anonymous attendee here that is asking a question. The question is, among the four, which best suits comparatively better for real-world construction scheduling? All right. So scheduling, when we're talking about this kind of analysis that needs to happen in the back end, right? Think about the things you're going to be loading into it prior to, right? So scheduling is often not, always going to stay the same. So real world kind of interaction needs to happen with like real-time data. And then you also need to take into account, you might have a lot of different documents that you need to analyze and compare against to um, get the schedule right, right? So if you take in the two considerations of it's a moving target sometimes, depending on when you're creating this, and the different level or number of documents that you guys are analyzing, you can very clearly kind of push it into two of these kind of AI models here, right? So if you're a Google Workspace user, Gemini is going to be good, but Gemini is going to lack on that like really complex analysis, right? So Gemini has that kind of real-time stuff. And like I mentioned, like one of the weak points in construction is context. AI is really good about knowing what's out there, knowing, a lot of information about how construction projects work, but it's lacking in terms of being able to see your documents right now. What's the most accurate document for this? Where are things at right now? What has been the most updated, schedule that has been sent so far? And then what has changed since based on the documents? And if it doesn't have access to all of that, you need to be aware that the context of those documents is going to give you the best answer. And something like Claude, honestly, would do really well with this, just because it has that large context window. You can upload a ton of documentation to it, and then you can kind of work with it from there. Another option would be custom GPT. I say custom GPT specifically because within ChatGPT, you can create a custom GPT for your construction project, and there's something called knowledge-based documents. You can upload a ton of knowledge-based documents in there, prior documents, prior schedules that you've created, and so on, and say, hey, like I need an updated critical path here. And can you generate it based off the knowledge documents? I'm just going to continuously upload the new stuff that I get that I need you to reference for this. That way, you're almost creating like this little like folder of all your project documents, and then you're able to ask multiple questions to that custom GPT about this folder of documents here. With Claude, it's more like, hey, I know it's going to be able to analyze a lot of documents, a lot of pages. I know it's going to be able to clearly understand it, but you also need to know that you're probably going to have to upload those documents each time, and it's going to be like a chat thread, right? And in my opinion, I would rather put everything in like a subfolder over in ChatGPT and then be able to reference it multiple times or just go update or add a new document into this like folder and it be able to work with them rather than having to like go back in the thread and be like, did I like scroll up like 50 chats and see if you uploaded that one document at that one time that you had it? So I think ChatGPT custom GPT would be a good option for this. ChatGPT can also analyze like those 300 plus document pages to give you an answer and give it to you accurately. So I hope that helps. Again, there's not always going to be a right or wrong. It's just you need to be able to work with these in different ways. You just saw me work with Claude and ChatGPT in two completely different ways, right? One's like more chat, one's more like building out a little mini system here for my project because I'm probably going to be managing this project for the next 12 months, right? So I might as well just make a GPT for it and then be able to ask it continuously questions and be able to go update the document folder around it. I think that would be a much better use of your time. And I like to coach people away from this like turn and burn, like new chat, new chat, new chat. There's a time and place for like new chat, rewrite this email, new chat, rewrite this email. But if you have something you're going to be working with for, the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever it is, it could go a long way to create your own custom GPT there. So I hope that answers your question. I hope that gives you some insight. They're both gonna give you some good answers and test these out too, you guys. Like a lot of these have free accounts. Go test them, and if they're not a free account, it's like $20. Go ask the same question to both of them. It's going to be very clear to you based on your type of work and the documents you're working with, which answers you like better. So the prompts do help, I will say. So like if you're in here and you're like looking at these advanced prompting techniques about intermediate and advanced techniques, this is going to help you no matter what model you're using. But go kind of test out your working style with these different models, and ultimately you can pick your favorite, knowing what you know now about how each model works and what insights they have. All right, I think that's going to bring us to time. Oh, we have a question from Ted. Is there an application that works well for estimating? Do you or anyone else offer custom tools for preparing estimates? All right, Ted. So this is a hard topic, I will say, and probably the reason you're asking it is because a lot of tools suck out there. My co-founder Lars is looked at a bunch, and I've looked at a bunch with him, and it's just a really hard kind of problem to solve. Just because every company has a little bit different information around here. There's so much industry knowledge here, or at least takeoffs. Gotcha, Ted. So one thing that I have shown on custom GPTs is there are maybe I can just go here if you guys can watch this. So in the Explore GPTs, which I've gone into in previous webinars, there is a marketplace here. So I think I've shown that you guys can come in here and basically search for let me do like construction. And I'm happy to help you, Ted, also on like our Thursday office hours if you want to pop into one of those. But you can see that these custom GPTs have been built by specific people in the construction industry. And these are basically free to use, which is pretty cool. So you could go test them out without much worry. You can see a website or the person who created this. You can see ratings based on people that have used it. So this says 600 ratings, 4.3 stars, and it's had over 25,000 conversations, right? Alternatively, you have this tool here and this one here. So they've all had over 25,000 chats. Sometimes you'd be able to go see the person's LinkedIn and kind of vet them as well. I'm trying to see if like this guy here, cool. So this guy has his LinkedIn here, and you'd be able to kind of see, oh, like what gives this guy the right to think that he can build a construction estimating GPT, right? So this is just again, if you're doing processes that involve a lot of data in almost like this storage of knowledge, and then you're going to go back and reuse it, reuse it, reuse it. I think custom GPTs are just like the best right now, and that's why I created a whole course on it that we're releasing here in the next week or so. So this guy has not so many, or has over 1,000 ratings and then 25,000 conversations. So this would be a great place to start, Ted, if you haven't been able to use any. These are free. These are, there's different ones. I would test multiple, and it's as simple as picking one and starting a chat and then seeing what you like and what you don't like about it. And you can also kind of modify it from there and train it on your guys' own information and your guys' own data. I can definitely help you kind of dial one of these in as well if you wanted to go down the road of making your own custom GPT. That's all these guys did. And kind of having your own kind of tribal knowledge, your own information, your own information from previous projects that you guys have created those takeoffs and estimates for. All right. I think I'm going to be late. Let me see what meeting I'm going to be late for because I want to answer. Okay, I can answer this one. Edmund, so which tool works best for AECO business doing the consultancy direction, career development direction, and thought leader direction? It sounds like you're going to need more of like a generalist tool, Edmund. In my opinion, if you're looking at something that needs to do a lot of those different things, I would go down the route of ChatGPT just because it looks like you're doing a lot. Your consultancy, career development, and thought leadership. So I would use ChatGPT. It's going to be able to be creative for you in all of those different areas. It's going to be able to, dynamically you need a creative AI, and ChatGPT is like the safest, most creative, and with the broadest kind of like data set that can act as, these different things like consulting, career development, and thought leader. I would definitely be more on the GPT side if I were you. All right. That brings us to 11:05. Thanks for everybody that stuck around past the normal end time here. I hope that this one was really useful. I think that I'm going to be at a conference next Tuesday, guys. I will communicate via email if we're going to be having a webinar next Tuesday or not. I should know within the next day or so here. So just look out for a communication. If not, we will for sure be on the following week. I'm going to go to a conference and try to connect with more construction professionals, get more insights, and get more information for you guys. As always, I make these for you. If you guys have ideas about webinars, about, ideas them or questions that I may have sparked in your mind, send them to me. I love making these webinars based on the viewers' ideas. I make these for you. This is a lot of the stuff that I already know. I'm just structuring what's in my nerdy brain and putting it into an easy to follow kind of presentation for you guys, and just sharing my knowledge. So I'm using this stuff literally all day, every day, and learning about it and coding it and building it for our users at Contracts Connected. And we have some really exciting stuff coming out. If you guys haven't checked out our company before, it's contractsconnected.com. And yeah, I would love to see you guys in the community. Till next time, keep kind of pushing forward and being on the forefront of how AI is used in construction. And I will see you guys on the next webinar. Thanks for coming.